Hey, this is Stu Schaefer, and I'm about to explain exactly how to exercise for menopause belly fat. Okay. Now, is there one exercise you should be doing to burn off menopause belly fat? No, but I'm going to explain what you need to do, how exercise has to be different in menopause, what my clients do, which allows them to be so successful. And then at the end, I'm going to walk you through exactly what I would do if you were my client and how I would set everything up for you. So the big question is, oh my gosh, I'm in menopause. All of a sudden, I'm gaining weight and it seems to be around my midsection. Why? Why is this happening? And all of this stuff I used to do to get the fat back off, it's not working anymore. Is there something wrong with me? Am I going crazy? This isn't fair. There's nothing wrong with you, but you've got to do things different. So here's what happens. Why do you store fat all of a sudden? Is it your hormones? Not exactly. Now, when I say not exactly, it can be hormone related, obviously, but the hormones aren't causing the weight gain and the fat gain. It has more to do with how your body is now producing your hormones when you go into menopause. What happens is your ovaries, they stop producing the hormones. And they used to produce all of your estrogen, progesterone, pregnenolone, testosterone, all the good stuff, and the other hormones. Now they've stopped. And so your adrenal glands, they take over. Now they're the ones that are producing these hormones. Well, they got to do double duty. They also have to produce your stress hormones. And so, if you're doing this wrong and you're overdoing it and overstressed, this is when your hormones go all out of balance. So it's actually, menopause doesn't cause the hormones necessarily to go out of balance. And the hormones going out of balance don't necessarily cause the weight gain. It's that you're doing things wrong and it's breaking down your system. Now, here's the weird, confusing part. You've probably at this point always been doing things incorrectly. The way you were exercising, the way you used to lose weight, all of these things were probably not good, but you were able to get away with them when you were younger because your body could handle the stress and some of these mistakes you're making. Well, now you just don't have that much leeway. That's the difference. So this is what's happening. So your bodies are different in menopause. As if you didn't know that. So you have to do things differently. Well, look, just let me show you a couple of case studies of a few ladies who were doing what you're probably doing. They were exercising all the time, really restricting what they were eating. They'd cut out dairy, they'd cut out gluten, they'd cut out alcohol, they'd cut out sugar. They were eating all organic, super healthy. Nothing would budge. And when we did what I'm about to show you today with changing up their exercise, wham, they started losing weight really quickly. Now, obviously, we did some nutrition stuff as well. Certainly, I've made plenty of lessons on that, which you should definitely check out those lessons. But let's talk about exercise. What do you have to do differently? And why? Why is your body so different now? Well, number one, it's changed. Your ovaries aren't producing the hormones anymore. So now your adrenal glands are, which means your stress tolerance goes way down. So all the stuff you used to do, restricting calories, that's stressful. Cutting out carbs, that's stressful. Over-exercising, that's stressful. Doing the wrong type of exercise, that's stressful. Now your body may not be able to handle all that stress. So I've met a lot of women that used to do the boot camps and the classes and they would just push it so hard and then all of a sudden they gain weight doing that. This is part of what's going on. All right, so let's take a look at this. What happens when you do exercise wrong? Most of the time it's too much or too intense or both, okay? Well, there's a few side effects that you may have experienced. Right? Number one is your cortisol cranks up. Everyone says cortisol is bad. It's not bad. Cortisol, like everything else in your body, is good when it's in range, okay? Look, your thyroid, your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your cholesterol. If it's too high, that's bad, okay? But if it's too low, that's also bad. Cortisol is the same, okay? Cortisol is necessary to burn fat. But if cortisol is out of range, it'll prevent you from burning fat. It'll cause your body to burn muscle, and it causes your hormones to crash and tank because your adrenal glands are working too hard on the stress hormones. They can't produce the other hormones. So that's number one. Number two side effect is you might go into starvation mode where the body thinks it's in starvation mode. It's not getting enough to match all the exercise you're doing. And so what happens is it actually can lower its thyroid function because the cortisol has a negative impact on your thyroid, and it can reduce its own metabolic rate, its own metabolism to try to match what's coming in. And it'll release a fat storing enzyme because your body can't tell if you're trying to lose weight or if you're in a survival situation. And so if you're over exercising, cranking it out, and the body's trying to now protect itself, it wants to take what you eat and save it for later. And it can only do that in your fat cells. So it releases an enzyme that makes it easy to store fat. Who would have thought? It sounds backwards. And this is why so many women are frustrated. It seems like you're doing everything right, but this is actually counterproductive. Number three, it can affect your sleep and your energy. If you're exercising wrong, too much, too intense, things like this, well, maybe now your adrenaline runs high, so then you don't sleep as well. Your energy tanks, you feel lethargic. And a lot of women I know and have worked with, they complain about this quite often. Number four is your cravings go up. It's like all of a sudden you become a ravenous beast, you know. It's like, oh, and you'll do well, and then all of a sudden something will trigger you and bam, you have all these cravings. Maybe you binge. Okay, this is all related. And lastly, this doesn't stand for body fat, okay? BF, brain fog. Okay, I don't know how many times I've seen women with brain fog, and it's because they're exercising incorrectly. That's one of the reasons. And all these are typical symptoms that women will have, and they blame their hormones. But the hormones aren't actually the root cause. Sometimes incorrect exercise is actually at the root, and it is affecting your hormones and affecting some of these other things. So let's go over the 4 differences you have to know and do with exercise in menopause and perimenopause and postmenopause. You got to do things different. Number 1 is the type of exercise. Well, first of all, you have to do the right type for your goals, but you also have to do the right type for your body. Well, if you were to look at the different types of exercise, there's 2 main types. There's anaerobic, or kind of like resistance training, and aerobic or cardio. Now, you shouldn't only do one. You need a multitude. Well, things like yoga and Pilates, those would fall into more of the anaerobic weight training, resistance training camp. And I did a whole lesson on the different types of exercise, so you definitely want to check that out. I went in depth with some of these and how I rate the different types of exercises for women. So you want to check that out. But you need both. You do want resistance training. It can be weight training. I think that's very superior. Yoga is wonderful. So is Pilates. But you don't only want to do one of those. You want to blend it. You want a balance there. Now, you also need to do cardiovascular exercise. They have different impacts on the body. So the type, how much of the resistance versus how much of the cardio, this is going to vary. And again, stay with me because I'm going to explain how to put all this together depending on your body type. So the first difference is you've got to do the right type. No more all out, boot camps, super high cardio, hours a day. You don't want to do that, okay? Number 2, the amount of exercise has to be correct. Too much is just as bad as not enough. And it really has to align with your body, but also your nutrition. Because if you're not eating very much, but you're doing all this exercise, that's not good. If you're eating a ton and hardly doing any exercise, that's probably not good either. They have to balance. Now, the amount really shouldn't be that much. None of my clients do more than 30 minutes a day. I'm not kidding when I say that. And they ain't doing high intensity stuff. It's like they look at me like, Stu, come on, really? But then they lose 20, 30 pounds of body fat in just 12 weeks. Sometimes less is more. when you're doing the right type, okay, and you're doing the right intensity, and when everything is in the sweet spot. It's just like your hormones, more isn't better, too little isn't good. You want it right in the right range, okay? So the amount, somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes is probably the sweet spot. I would not do more than an hour in a day. I say at a time, but then someone's going to say, I'll do an hour in the morning and then an hour in the evening. No, I would not do more than an hour, okay? 30 to 45 minutes is usually plenty. There's only one or two exceptions to that. Okay, let's look at the third difference with exercise. You need to do the right intensity. You women are awesome, and I can't tell you how many clients are just trying to work harder and harder and harder, and their thought process, which is logical, is, hey, the harder I exercise, the more calories I'll burn, the more weight I'll lose, and then they notice they gain all this weight in the midsection, especially around their belly. It's too intense, okay? Too intense is just as bad as not intense enough. It needs to be the right intensity. Too intense cranks up the cortisol. Okay, now, so we talked about the two types of exercise. You have the resistance or anaerobic, and then you have the cardio. Well, of course, your resistance exercise is probably going to be a little bit more intense. And that's why you don't want to do intense cardio. You want to be able to burn fat, but not trigger the cortisol and all these other side effects. And this is where that balance comes in. Now, just so you know, my clients always look at me and they give me a really weird look and they go, Stu, this is boring. Like, I'm not doing anything. And I go, trust me, trust the process. And then bam, they lose all this weight and they go, who would have thought doing such easy exercise would cause this fat burning? Hey, me, okay. But you gotta just change your mindset around this. So the right intensity, well, let's just talk about that in terms of heart rate. Most women, and I've worked with thousands of them, don't need to do cardio at a heart rate much higher than about 115 beats per minute. Okay, that would be like you walking out to the mailbox. And my clients always tell me, this is boring. I don't even feel like I'm doing anything. It's too easy. Too easy? It feels too easy. That's how it should feel. Believe it or not, you're actually doing a lot for the body and you're preventing the side effects. That's the difference. Again, when you hit menopause and perimenopause and postmenopause, your body's different and you've got to do things differently. All right? Okay, and then last one, the combination. You have to have the right combination of resistance or anaerobic and aerobic or cardio. And this really depends on your body fat percentage. I did a whole lesson on this where I break down, if you're at different levels of body fat, what the balance should be. I'm not going to go into it on this lesson, so you're going to want to take a look at that other lesson, and I'll link it so you can check that out. But, if you're under 20% body fat, you're going to do a specific balance. If you're between 20 and 30% body fat, you'll do a specific balance. And if you're above 30% body fat, another different balance. It'll really be dictated by your body fat percentage. But really, you've got to balance that aerobic with the anaerobic. Now, you also have to balance, like I said, your exercise with your food. If you're not eating that much, you can't over-exercise. Your body's going to starve. It's going to be too stressful. The nutrition and the exercise have to line up. Most likely, just based on my experience, you're going to have to eat more to allow you to do the exercise in a way that won't hurt your body. Again, it's so counterintuitive, and my clients even have a hard time believing it, but the proof is in the pudding and the results. So these are the four differences. Let me show you how I would put it together for you if you were my client. The first thing I would do is I would look at what type of exercise have you been doing, what are you eating, what would the food plan look like that we came up with, and based on that, along with your schedule, are you really active at work? Are you getting a lot of steps? Are you working a lot? Are you really stressed? What's all that look like? But let's say you're average. Let's say you don't move that much at work. You're eating the average amount, a little bit low still, but you're eating okay. And, you've been one of those chronic exercisers. You're used to exercise. In fact, you're probably doing too much. Where would I start you? I would start you probably with 3 days a week of resistance training. That could be weights, at least 1 day of weights, and it could be a little bit of yoga and Pilates if you're really into that. And I would do 3 days a week of cardio with 1 day off. I would not do extra cardio on the resistance or weight training days. And I would probably only start you at 30 minutes of cardio per day. Why? Because we always want to find the minimum amount that you need to do to lose weight. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, it'll be the best for your body. And number two, if you do end up hitting a sticking point in the future, we have a little room to increase it. If you start at the max and you run into a problem, you can't increase it. You're stuck. You've already capped out. So 3 days a week of resistance training, 3 days a week of cardio, 1 day completely off, 30 minutes of gentle cardio. I don't really care what you do as long as your heart rate's correct. This is the best starting point. This is where you should start. Then based on how your body's responding, all these symptoms, digestion, sleep, energy, brain fog, weight loss, how your body's responding, that'll determine if do you need more weights, do you need more cardio, do you need less weights, less cardio. That gives us the balance. But this is a great starting point and it works so well. It'll feel boring. You'll be surprised at how well it works, but it works. Now, I'm going to splash up 2 videos for you. One's going to go into all my favorite types of exercise, how I rate them, etc. It's going to be great. You're going to want to look at that, my favorite exercises. The other video is going to show you how to really use the nutrition so you can combine the two and balance them correctly. I'll see you over on those videos. I hope this was helpful. All right, we'll talk soon. Take care.